What's good? It's Fever. Today, in the spirit of the upcoming third closed beta for Lost Ark, I figured I got all this footage of the game on my hard drive, I might as well share some of it as people who are eagerly awaiting the game are thirsty for anything. But for those of you who are not familiar, Lost Ark is an MMORPG being designed from that isometric fixed camera, which utilizes the same type of high-action, non-targeted, over-the-top style combat you've come to expect from many action RPGs, with a Korean open beta planned for this year and a global release to follow, maybe, hopefully, who knows. I know that I'll still be playing the Korean open beta because I love this game and it has ruined other games for me. A lot of what you can find about Lost Ark online seems to be the more intense stuff, as most of what you're seeing are the game's official hype trailers, so let's just slow it down a bit here and look at some more realistic, raw gameplay footage. You know, sometimes you are going to be fighting hordes and hordes of enemies, sometimes you're going to be tackling huge threats, and other times, a lot of the time actually, you are going to be doing some more of that traditional, non-combat style of questing. I mean, sometimes the game is just going to make you go tend on 5 of these giant flower buds, or carry this leaf bucket from here all the way over there before being given a new mundane task to do. The pacing of what you do as you're playing, especially as you level, is broken up quite a bit, which is a very good thing. It's a very MMORPG thing, but the peaks of intense gameplay with the valleys of things people will call mundane or tedious wastes of time work to make the game not feel like just an action RPG, and I'm telling you, it's good to just not always be in 5th gear, and to be able to kind of have that downtime. I think a lot of really popular games nowadays are being designed in a way where there are high and low points. It's not just go, 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 because that can actually get tiring in a weird way. So if you've seen any trailers for the game, you've seen the combat. It's definitely the huge selling point here. You've seen fans and content creators rip those trailers apart to make their own stuff, and I'm telling you, in-game, obviously, this is going to look a lot more subdued, but if you can believe it, some of the combat in the game looks even crazier than in these hype trailers. So what I'm just showing you on screen is something that's more normal. This is just me fumbling around on a kill quest to kill a unique tiger. I'm playing a Battle Master, which is a martial arts themed class with all of the punches and kicks you could ever want, as well as some Dragon Ball Z, Ryu and Ken, like shooting of energy balls and chi for something just a little bit more flashy. The sound design is on point. I love the ragdolling of the enemies. It's tastefully over the top. You'll also see quite a bit of mobility, even for a class or ability build that isn't even stressing that. This is a pretty early zone. Like I said, we're slowing it way down for this video. A couple things to point out. First, you'll notice that while everything looks good, and this is yet another different environment, and you'll see a couple more just in this video, it's pretty sparse. There's not a lot of stuff filling out this area. And second, the time to kill for some of the background combat you may see, disclaimer, the balance isn't final, but you'll notice that it's not just one-shotting things. Most of the classes I've tried need to chain together abilities, and there are mechanics to the skills themselves that feed into that combo system, but to bring back a piece of that clip from earlier, there do exist abilities that, through other systems, through other progression systems, longer cooldowns, do allow you to have those big, satisfying, meaty hits. Typically, they kind of act like finishers, although oftentimes they're powerful just to use in their own without the combo attached to them. The end of this clip showcases something that is done quite a bit. People have called it cinematic. It's really just this using of the camera without a transition into a cutscene to give you what amounts to a cutscene, or if you'd prefer, gives you a moment to watch or take something specific in. The seamless blending of gameplay into cinematic is something they use a ton, and really is a nice touch that screams quality, but not because it is a higher quality, but almost for the same reason that I want as few loading screens in a game as possible, or not entering gameplay modes in MMORPGs through a UI window. It just prevents the separation of one experience versus the next, and it catches you off guard in a good way. I also wanted to add in here that last clip, that church scene. I also love when there are tons of NPCs. It's common in games to have huge cities with, 5 NPC shopkeepers in them, or an army's attacking and it's only 8 soldiers. I understand performance concerns, but Lost Ark definitely can and does put a lot of things on your screen when it makes sense. Moving into, very briefly, character creation. Looking at these intro clips when selecting a new class shouldn't, but did stick out to me, because if you've played a lot of the more current games that utilize an intro like this for their classes, Lost Ark has a distinct lack of the textures needing to catch up, and it flows super smooth from beginning to end. When I talk about Lost Ark in a more general overview, there'll be a link in the description or a card in the top right corner. There is a level of polish and quality to the game for sure, but it's like that not because it does certain things really well, but because it limits and removes things that it doesn't do well. I don't really go over the character creator here. I think I have a video on it, but looking at the video, you can see the very basic options. A very nice looking character comes out of this. Pretty similar quality and customization options to most current gen MMOs. I name her Broccoli, which people who have been with the channel for a while know that my logo on YouTube is a dirty, minimalistic line drawing of a broccoli, but the amount of messages about why I have a muffin or a chef's hat or a fart is one of my favorites, is always jarring, as for years it was always green and glorious, and now with this new logo it's, I guess, ambiguous, and so now people just always ask me why I name things after vegetables. I guess that's what happens. I thought the logo looked like broccoli. Now, I don't know why, but I'm going to include this clip of me trying to duel someone. Now, because I'm connecting to Korea, because of the setup I was running, my latency flicks between 200 to 1,000 regularly, but I did want to kind of show off the combo-y nature of combat between people, because I think with better ping, Lost Ark is going to be really cool for PvP. So this Lancer stun locks me almost the entire match. He gets me into a corner, beats me down. You'll notice that he knocks me up into the air, he'll jump on me, but each attack is kind of causing like this flinch, or rather like a mini stun that he can chain stuff off of. And you'll see that I do try to dodge out or evade dash frantically away from him, but my latency prevents it from happening. It sort of rubber bands me. But if you read into that, just know that I'm mashing that key constantly. Every time you see that are the only times he drops the combo. And this means that on his end, there's an execution level to creating the combos and keeping them going. And it reminded me, especially as I got further on in the game, it reminded me a lot of Blade and Soul, not in the input method, but in the way PvP is kind of dictated, where it's almost like a fighter with a different control mechanism. Keep in mind as well, both me and him have no idea really what we're doing. They've done so little testing of Lost Ark, and there easily could have been a CC break ability or an item that I just didn't have equipped. In this next duel, I fare a little bit better against this Arcana who uses cards and magic to beat me down. Again, you see combos, less of them because she's using some really crazy magic-based stuff. Remember that in both cases, I just went up and dueled someone randomly, so their skill kits, my skill kits, they're most likely not set up or optimized for PvP. You can choose your own sort of selection of abilities from a much larger list of abilities and can empower and alter the effects of each. As I leveled and got better at the game, like I had mentioned, when I got more stuff, and I was able to better grasp the mechanics of the game, as well as have more balanced or more normalized gear levels, it got cooler and cooler and cooler. And I could see a dueling side of PvP here that might actually be fun, and I haven't enjoyed dueling since old Diablo 2 barb duel lobbies. So this is one of the many instanced team-based dungeons that you can tackle. I took one of the less interesting ones, as that's kind of the running theme of the video. And because the game will get updated rather soon, I'm going to wait to show off some of the cooler stuff with one of the new classes being released. But this is, as far as my terrible ability to comprehend what's going on here, a bandit cave. In the party is one of those Arcana card mages and two gunner-based classes, one of them with a giant cannon and another that's dual-wielding pistols, it seems. What you should know about Lost Ark is that there are classes or playstyles that are very defensive, there are abilities that can heal, there are support-based abilities, but there is no rigid holy trinity of tank, healer, DPS. Each member just brings with them something to help the group. You look out for yourself, you help when you can, and try not to die. And so you can offer a ton of support, you can help the party out in a lot of different ways, but it's not like this person's job is only to heal the tank, whose job is to make sure that nothing attacks anybody else. Of course, because of just proximity, if you're a ranged class, you're generally not going to be the focus if some, crazy battle master just runs headstrong into huge packs of enemies, but there doesn't seem to be, at least to my understanding, like aggro or a core tanking system. In a lot of ways, it's like Guild Wars 2, where you can play tanky, you can play healy, you can play supporty, but it's not really needed. These enemies as well that you're seeing in the challenge that's being represented on screen is not representative at all of what you face later on. This is kind of the leveling up process. So just wait until next week and I'm going to show you some real over-the-top stuff. This video has gone on a little bit longer than I expected. I just grabbed some random clips and wanted to talk about them. I've chosen this clip specifically though because it kind of illustrates a lot of what I've talked about in a single sequence. It's kind of a low energy meandering that then morphs into some very basic combat that slips into a cinematic and back out, and then back into low energy and then back into combat. This flow of the gameplay I think is what has me so enamored with Lost Ark. I can't wait for next week. I'm gonna try and get a lot of really over-the-top footage because I'm gonna try and convince people to come over and play the Korean open beta with me when it comes out, to jump through those hoops to make this all work, because dude, I'm telling you, Lost Ark will ruin other games for you too. But that's going to do it for me. Until next time, this is Fever. Pulse.